This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Mark Martin. President Trump is continuing to push the nation's governors into reopening their states, especially schools, and more are beginning to do that. Dale Hurd has the story.
New reports that an Oxford University vaccine is showing promise. Monkeys given the trial drug and exposed to the virus have not caught COVID-19. Scientists have scheduled tests for as many as 6,000 people to receive the vaccine by the end of May. This as countries begin the slow process of hitting the reset button. America is slowly opening for business. Customers returning to some restaurants in Georgia and Tennessee. Texas will follow suit this Friday, and manufacturing and construction will resume next week in Ohio. President Trump is urging governors to also get going on opening schools.
Not a long way to go in the school system right now for this season, for this year, but I think you'll see a lot of schools open up, even if it's for a very short period of time.
Dr. Scott Atlas at the Hoover Institution told CBN's Faith Nation that because we know more about the virus now, more states can open back up.
What we know is that the risk of dying is extremely low, far lower than what was originally thought, and it's very targeted to certain groups.
Some Americans are still willing to take risks to fly. This flight from New York to Charlotte was nearly filled and without much social distancing. The longer the shutdown continues, the greater the concern a food shortage is coming, with 13 of the nation's meat plants closed and many farmers unable to get their products to market.
We have people downstate who need food. We have farmers upstate who can't sell their product. We have to put those two things together.
In New York, hundreds of volunteers are raising money to buy food from farmers and ship it to others.
We're able to buy food from farmers and simultaneously feed the people in the South Bronx that need that food.
Doctors now believe people with antibodies may be key to treating the most critically ill and are donating plasma after they recover. Just 2.5 weeks ago, Jimmy Hayden was in a coma and given a dose of experimental plasma. Back home with his wife and 4 kids, Hayden met the man online, credited with saving his life.
And David, I can't even put all the words together to say thank you.
You know, all I want to say is that I was happy to do it, and I'm glad you're well.
You just know that you are our hero.
As are all the medical workers on the front line who are working under stressful conditions. The medical director of the emergency department at a New York hospital, Dr. Lorna Breen, who contracted the virus herself and survived, took her own life Sunday. And bad news from China's top scientists, who believe coronavirus is not going to go away, but will likely come back each year. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Despite coronavirus fears, voters in Wisconsin are still making their way to the polls. Governor Tony Evers tried to stop in-person voting with an order Monday, but the state Supreme Court ruled it must go on. Cities have consolidated the number of polling sites due to a shortage of workers willing to interact with the public due to the coronavirus. Thousands of poll workers said they would not work, resulting in National Guard troops being called on to fill in the gaps. Results aren't planned to be released until Monday because absentee ballots postmarked by Tuesday can still be received by them. Attorney General William Barr has directed U.S. attorneys to, quote, be on the lookout for state and local governments violating constitutional rights of individuals during the strict COVID-19 restrictions. In a memo yesterday, Barr said the Constitution is not suspended in times of crisis. We must therefore be vigilant to ensure its protections are preserved at the same time that the public is protected. I thank you for your attention to this important initiative and for your service to our country. Barr also previously directed federal prosecutors to prioritize cases against price gouging from the pandemic, from either hoarding medical supplies to sell or committing fraud against the ill. And we are joined now by Jenna Ellis. She's the senior legal advisor to President Trump's reelection campaign and fellow at the Falkirk Center at Liberty University. Jenna, we have seen the reports over the past weeks about churches and pastors concerned about COVID restrictions and religious liberty. Do you think their concerns are valid? And why is the Attorney General's action so important?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Mark. Absolutely, their concerns are valid, and especially as we continue to see these stay-at-home orders just overreaching and treating dissimilarly exercises of religious liberty and pastors and churches from other businesses that they consider to be, quote-unquote, essential, then we have a constitutional problem. Under no circumstances should a state and local government be able to determine the difference to society between essential versus non-essential. And so Attorney General Bill Barr has now issued this memo, which is titled Balancing Public Safety with the Preservation of Civil Rights. We've always seen this natural tension in America of balancing and protecting and preserving fundamental rights like religious liberty with the government's obligation and limited powers to protect the public's safety, health, and welfare. But once you have that tension, then go into infringement and treat dissimilarly churches by saying, sure, grocery stores can be open, you can maintain social distancing, but churches aren't given that same freedom and liberty to open their doors, then you have a problem. So I wrote an article for The Federalist a couple of weeks ago talking about why it's unconstitutional to allow some businesses to be open with certain restrictions and standards in place and not have churches and other small businesses open. So I think we're going to see these challenges in court, and I'm very thankful that President Trump's administration, through Attorney General Bill Barr, is taking religious liberty so seriously.
And Jenna, as more states reopen, let's broaden this out a little bit. What is the most significant concern for Christians? You talked about churches, but Christians as a whole, what is the most significant concern?
Yeah, so the most significant concern from a constitutional standpoint is making sure that our government is protecting and preserving our freedoms, not overreaching in order to usurp those liberties and get more power and control for itself. We're seeing some of the governors, like the most egregious example is probably in Michigan with Governor Whitmer, and some of these others that are just imposing their will on our individuals in America. And so we have always operated under the assumption and the standards of our Constitution to require that liberty and freedom exists in America. So moving forward, I think that this circumstance in this pandemic is going to show that American resilience and our proud stance for freedom and liberty is going to be very important to maintain. And we're going to see those precedents come out in our court system throughout the next even few years. Mm-hmm. So as these continue to be litigated in the court system, it's going to be very important for all of those originalist judges that President Trump has put on the court, which is now almost 280 federal judges. We are going to need them to make sure that our rights and liberties are protected. And quickly, you're a key advisor on the Trump re-election campaign, and there's a tough sexual assault accusation against Joe Biden right now. Has his campaign denied that the assault happened? Or I guess the campaign has denied that the assault happened, but Biden himself has said nothing. Do you think he should respond to this charge quickly? Absolutely, he should respond. And the fake news media, the mainstream media, has continued to treat Biden with a measure of protection that they've never afforded under similar circumstances with this type of allegation. Biden absolutely, like any other American, deserves the protection of due process, but the mainstream media needs to treat this seriously. So we see that it's so hypocritical that they came out during the Kavanaugh hearings and just assumed that the allegations were correct. They had this hashtag Believe All Women, and now suddenly, when it doesn't benefit their narrative, they're simply ignoring this. Biden has been on multiple interviews since this allegation came out, and not one person has been willing to come forth and ask him a simple question about this very serious allegation. He needs to respond, and journalists need to do their job by seeking the truth rather than their own agenda. All right, constitutional law attorney Jenna Ellis, thank you for your time today, Jenna. Thanks, Mark. Our Crowd, one of Israel's leading funding organizations, is taking on the challenge of beating the coronavirus. As Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem, they just announced a major step to help provide a vaccine for the world.
2 months ago, as COVID-19 began taking its grip on the world, CBN News reported on the research and development of a vaccine by the Migal Research Institute.
We've reached a winning formula for vaccination of poultry, which worked very, very nicely.
The Institute's work toward that poultry vaccine started in 2016, which gave Miguel a 4-year head start against this sickness because it's similar to the human virus.
So we're now backing this project, and we're just beyond ourselves in terms of hope and optimism that this kind of project coming out of Israel's Galilee can bring potentially very, very good news to the world.
Jonathan Medved, founder of Our Crowd, held their annual summit just before the pandemic. He chose to fund this research under a new company called MigVax. He says its formula brings a number of advantages.
This is not their first rodeo. They've been working on a variety of coronavirus-related vaccines in this area now for some time. But on top of that, this is an oral vaccine, which is pretty much unique in terms of the other candidates that are out there. It doesn't require a shot. It'll work in hot climates in parts of Africa, because we need a vaccine for everybody. It doesn't use actually live virus or dead virus in the vaccine. So people who are immunocompromised, who are afraid of catching it, don't have to worry about taking a vaccine that has small attenuated amounts.
Medved says his organization has been on a mission since the pandemic began.
My problem is, I told my wife when it started, I said, you know, we'll get some quality time together, right? That hasn't worked out, okay? I've been working harder than ever before. We're working globally, so we go, you know, often to 2 or 3 in the morning, and then, you know, back at it in the AM. And I'll tell you, it keeps you young, it keeps you motivated, it keeps you excited.
He says it's all part of Israel's biblical calling.
I feel very much that we're all here for a purpose. And the purpose of Israel renewed, Israel rebuilt, Israel established not just as a strong member of the family of nations, is that we are supposed to do this stuff. Okay, we are supposed to be out there working on cures for cancer and to feed the world and to cure and prevent the coronavirus. This is our calling and our ability at Our Crowd to help support these brave entrepreneurs and to link them to supporters and investors around the world. It doesn't get better than that.
Medved hopes other investors will join the effort.
What's great about it is it's democratic, so that any of your viewers who meet the criteria of accredited investors worldwide can now join together with us and fund this important development and hopefully profit from the results.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time: keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
You know, I think as a father, it's my job, you know, to lead, just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
According to the nation's largest network of food banks, some 17 million people could face hunger as a result of the pandemic. As Charlene Aaron shows us, food banks as well as local farmers are finding new ways to feed America.
Long lines to collect essential grocery items and other needs have become the norm. Thousands are receiving food from this Hampton, Virginia food bank, and it's a scene that's played out across the country as families are struggling to put food on their tables. In order to provide additional help, the Virginia Peninsula Food Bank now hosts drive-through giveaways.
Normally we have smaller distributions throughout the month, but to supplement what our partner agencies are doing and also to supplement some of our normal food distributions, we're planning these 400 household distributions 2 or 3 times a week.
Many are first-timers.
Of those that we have seen in these drive-through distributions, over 60% of them are new to the food bank. So these are people who have been laid off and never thought they'd be in a food line, and here they are.
The Salvation Army is also seeing a spike in requests for assistance.
We've seen some places where the demand has increased by 2, 3, 4 times. Sacramento area, we've seen an increased demand of maybe 400%.
Disabled vet Mike Taylor says he and his wife, who's furloughed from her job, are having a hard time.
I get paid once a month, and I have a house in Fox Hill. My wife is out of work because she works for Colonial Williamsburg. It is really rough out here.
Desperate and down to her last $3, Stephanie Moore waited in line several hours for the free groceries.
Oh, I appreciate it so much because I really did need some food.
While the pandemic has adversely affected major farm operations, smaller farms are adopting new ways to meet demand. With stay-at-home orders in place, business is booming here at Full Quiver Farm in Suffolk, Virginia, as a growing number of customers request food deliveries to their homes. Forced to shut down their stand at a local farmer's market, Scott and Allison Wilson found a way to keep selling their grass-fed beef, chicken, pork, and dairy products.
Our main ways of reaching customers have been farmers markets, some deliveries, and then coming to the farm. But once things started changing, we took something we were already doing, which is some deliveries 2 days a week. So that increased within a week to 4 days a week.
The all-natural products are delivered with social distancing in mind.
They leave a cooler there for us. They order online through our website and shopping cart. They pay online, and we actually go to their house, open their cooler and leave it there. They don't have to have any physical interaction, which makes everyone feel comfortable.
Meanwhile, as the impact of the deadly pandemic lingers, Joyner says the need to feed more people is also likely to last.
This is going to be a long-term issue and not just solved in the next month or 2.
CBN's Operation Blessing is also mobilized to help meet the need. In the last 2 weeks, they have given out more than 45,000 pounds of food.
As we looked at the impact that children being home from school and parents having hours cut or actually losing their jobs completely, we knew that we needed to get involved.
Produce, shelf-stable products, and non-perishable items are now available each week at the organization's distribution centers. Robin Ross says access to free groceries has lifted a weight off her shoulders, given the recent loss of her job.
That means at least one problem right now I don't have to worry about. I know me and my grandson will have food, and now I can concentrate more on trying to figure out how to do my room wrap.
And one less burden to bear in these uncertain times. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Coming up, how the loneliness of isolation due to the pandemic can lead people down the wrong path, and what one Christian author has to say about it.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy?
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain, get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Continued lockdowns mean more isolation, which can pour fuel on two major issues facing society: loneliness and porn addiction. Christian author Josh McDowell has been researching the impact and talked to our Paul Strand about what he found.
Even before the pandemic, Josh McDowell found one main affliction affecting people.
All research showed the #1 epidemic globally in every country of the world was loneliness.
It hits colleges especially hard, with 2/3 of students feeling very lonely. That can be as hard on your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Loneliness can also lead to higher rates of death, illness, injury, smoking, obesity, and high blood pressure. And McDowell says this all feeds into porn addiction.
That's what we have during the COVID-19. That's why we're going to have a huge explosion of porn when we come out of this crisis.
Even before the lockdowns, research showed high rates of Christian men and women seeking out porn online across age groups, with an astounding 81% of those ages 13 to 24. Even 57% of pastors and 64% of youth pastors admit struggling with porn. Yet only a small number of churches have any anti-porn program. McDowell warns that must improve, and churches should prepare to deal with more than just porn.
Pastors better be ready to address loneliness, depression, anxiety, and mental health.
He expects, however, that many suffering from these issues won't seek help from the church.
Now, we're going to see a resurgence of spiritual interest, not so much in the church. And we're going to see a greater desire emphasis on home meetings and small groups.
So I guess what you're saying is more than just the pastors, all of us that are meeting in small groups and all that, we all need to be able to minister to our brothers and sisters in Christ and those that may be coming in out of their renewed interest in spiritual things.
That's why I'm putting on my website, josh.org, how to deal with loneliness, depression, anxiety, everything.
And also look there for Josh's 10 challenges to the church. Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
Still ahead, he came down with the coronavirus and his case was so bad, doctors told him he only had a 1% chance of living. But this Georgia pastor is alive today, as you see there, and he says it's because of Jesus. We're going to hear from him when we come back.
I am Region's first ROTC graduate student.
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way. I'm Roberto Torres-Cedillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices. And watch God transform a generation.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to CBN.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart. It has the power to influence weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. You'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet, free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
You need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a Better Gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
A few weeks ago, Pastor Robert Burt of Danielsville Baptist Church in Georgia was near death. He had contracted the coronavirus. He ended up on life support, and doctors told him he only had a 1% chance of living. And it was so bad he did not know who he was or why he was at the hospital. But on April 10th, Robert made his way home. He told CBN's The Prayer Link program he's alive because of Jesus.
I've seen the worst of the worst. And, you know, the Lord let me walk through hell, and he was with me. Nobody touched me. And I told my wife, I said, you know, I'm glad I'm a Christian, and I'm glad I'm at where I'm at with God, because there's no way I could live in darkness like that. And people who say there's no God, I'm living proof of it. Well, my faith right now with Jesus is a lot stronger. Me being here, that's all because of Jesus Christ and all the prayers.
And you can hear more from Pastor Robert Burt on the Prayer Link. It's tonight at 6:30 Eastern, only on the CBN News Channel. Well, that's it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Have a great day.